Hello folks, my name is Mark and this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So, I've been seeing a lot in the news on different, especially on YouTube, different left-leaning news type programs like David Pakman and, Secular Report, stuff like that, where they're basically saying that Trump has really not actually done anything in the last 60 days, and that he's so incompetent that everything he's tried to do has basically failed. And they cite, for example, the Muslim ban, which has failed twice so far. um, those of you who haven't been paying attention, he did another Muslim ban. He basically tried to do it again, and it got struck down again. It's also been frozen by a court in Hawaii. And they cite that as an example, and they cite the fact that he's just been mired in scandal and hasn't been able to effectively push any of his policy, and that all of the executive orders that he's done are essentially just window dressing. They don't actually do anything. They're just sort of like directives with no force behind them. Right. And I just want to, reiterate to everybody out there that, don't be so sure. Number one, okay? Trump is, at the moment now extremely unpopular, but that can change really fast. And basically all he needs is a crisis, a sufficient crisis in order to get people behind him, If you guys would remember in early 2001, Bush was basically just as ineffectual. Okay. He was essentially a joke for the first 9 months of 2001. Nobody took him seriously. He had trouble getting his agenda through. And his approval rating was steadily dropping. It started at around 60% after he was inaugurated, and it slowly went down, And his administration was mired in scandal too. Not to the extent that the Trump people is. I think we're setting a world record here with Trump. But there was a couple of different things. There was Enron, and there was the energy task force, the secret energy task force. That kind of thing. There was a lot of little mini scandals, and then 9/11 happened, and Bush's approval rating shoots up to 90%, and history, he basically got everything he wanted after that. 2 wars, right? And he was reelected based on the strength of 9/11. If there was no 9/11, Bush, probably would have been a one-termer like his daddy, And that's all it takes. So all it's really going to take is one big terrorist attack, one big crisis to get people behind the president. And the likelihood of that happening is extremely high. Right. For the main reason being that Trump and the people he's putting into power and the people he's hiring and appointing are the most incompetent people that have ever held the position. They're ridiculously incompetent. They have no clue what they're doing, and they're continuously just fucking everything up, trying to cover for him, because he just, has no idea what the fuck he's doing either. And the likelihood that a terrorist will take advantage of that, or another nation, will take advantage of that, is extremely high. Okay? If you remember back in 2001, Bush didn't have foreknowledge of 9/11. But there was a CIA report that came out that said there was an extreme likelihood that something like that would happen. I don't have it in front of me right here, but that was a big deal. I don't know if you remember that. He got a warning sometime in August that a group like Al Qaeda was planning to attack. Specifically linked to Osama bin Laden and all that shit. And there was some controversy because apparently he didn't even read that. Well, Trump doesn't read his he doesn't read his intelligence reports. In fact, if the news is to be believed, he apparently likes to have all of his daily briefings on one page, right, with bullet points, and, you know, lots of graphs and maps and shit like that. You know, they used to, like, the Republicans used to criticize Obama for preferring a 6-page summary of his daily reports. You know, Trump doesn't even do that. Trump is like fucking bullet points. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? And the thing is that there's lots of these decisions have to be made by the president. You know, do we strike here or do we do that? Do we attack these guys? Do we go after this person? Whatever, right? A lot of those decisions come from the president. Well, if his ass isn't even reading his fucking, like, you know, intelligence briefings, then how are we to, like, and then how are we to guess that the fucking actions he's taking are actually informed and are actually going to be effective, you know? And apparently, you know, he has stepped up drone bombings something like 400% since he's taken office, and they're like killing civilians and shit. It's ridiculous. Like, I'll put some links to links to some stories in the thing, but basically, like, you know, they've loosened the rules for drone strikes to, like, you know, not give a shit about civilian casualties anymore. It's fucking sad. You know, read up on that, everybody. So, you know, that's the problem. It's like, so he's not paying attention. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not, you know, and then also the intelligence community is actively, like, fighting with him because now we find out that he's being investigated for, you know, ties to Russia and all that shit. And the FBI was investigating him during the election. You know, too bad they didn't have the foresight to just mention that to us, you know, so that people could have, like, known about it before they voted. I mean, they had no problem telling us about Hillary's fucking investigations. How come they didn't do the same to Trump? That's bullshit. So that's the thing. The intelligence agencies are hostile towards Trump, right? I've even read a thing where they said that they don't trust him with intelligence, and they don't trust the people around him with intelligence, and they're not sure if, you know, their high-level intelligence is going to be leaked to Russia, right? Because they don't trust him. So it's like, well, now so now someone in the CIA might go, well, this information is too sensitive for the president to fucking know, which is ridiculous, you know. So how can we trust him to defend the country if he's not getting the right information? You know, if they're not giving him the right information and he won't even read it in the first place. We can't, right? So it's probably going to happen, right? Everyone living in New York should be scared shitless right now. You know, I live in a big city, Los Angeles. Some shit could happen here, you know. I mean, don't think that you're safe just because you also don't live on the coast, you know, if you live somewhere in the middle of the country, right? There's plenty of targets out there in the middle of the country that will cause just as much havoc as blowing up the Trade Center. You know, if somebody, like, sets off a dirty bomb somewhere, somebody fucking, you know, sabotages a nuclear power plant somewhere in middle America. You know, this shit can happen, right? These are the people that are supposed to be defending us from that kind of thing. You know, Trump, his cabinet, right, the CIA, the FBI, the intelligence agencies, they're supposed to be defending us. That's supposed to be their number one duty, is to protect, you know, the United States. That's supposed to go above everything else, all of the partisan bickering, all of the fucking power plays and power grabs, shit like that. The intelligence agencies are too distracted fighting with the incompetent executive branch. And, you know, their work is going to suffer. So everybody be ready, right? And it's going to, you know, it's going to happen. As long as this man's in office, we run the risk of another 9/11 type event happening. And if it does, he's going to his approval rating is going to shoot to 90%, the same way he did with Bush. And he's going to get everything he wants, right? Suddenly, his fucking ridiculous draconian healthcare bill is going to pass. Suddenly, his ridiculous draconian budget is going to pass. And it'll just be, you know, that's a nightmare scenario. So, folks, just, you know, I don't know, folks. Everyone is insane. Adios.